All right, welcome all you game changers, young hustlers, entrepreneurs, and those ready to really elevate their game. And whether you're listening to our Game Changers movement episodes or the Young Entrepreneur Lifestyle or in my academy, I just wanted to bring a lot of value to you guys. And I'm extremely excited about this episode with Mr. Lewis Howes. Lewis is an entrepreneur, former professional arena football player, host of School of Greatness, which is one of the top podcasts, I think, in the world. Were you in Success Magazine or in a pretty big...
I was.
That's pretty amazing. So the podcast is great. I've listened to it. A lot of great value there. I know a lot of you guys have already listened to that as well. He's built multiple seven-figure businesses, and he's one of the world's leading authorities for building not only profitable webinar streams, but online courses and some other things as well. So his new book comes out, The School of Greatness. We're going to talk about that later. But Lewis, man, welcome. I'm excited to have you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it, Peter. You're the man.
And I also appreciate you offering to carry me on stage at the event last week.
That was fun.
But anyways, man, so last time I saw you, you flew in from Tampa. You were in a different state the day before. You flew into Vegas, and you were ready to go fired up. But I asked how much sleep you had, and you said 0. Are you still rolling on not much sleep, or did you finally catch up, or what?
The next day, I went to New York, and then I was up till about 3:30, 4 a.m. every night until I got back to L.A. yesterday. And I got about 6.5, 7 hours of sleep yesterday, but it's been an 8-day pre-launch journey of like what's to come for the next 6 weeks, because I'm going on a 13-city tour, and I'm traveling, taking planes everywhere and just doing so many book events and signings, speaking gigs, that this is the playoffs, though. You know what? I'm not sleeping as much as I normally would. I'm not on my normal routine, but like in the playoffs, you are exhausted. Your body is beaten down from the whole season. Yep. You can't breathe. You're injured. Probably in like half your body's got some type of injury and pain. You're emotionally broken down. You're physically broken down. You just want to go to sleep. But that's what separates people from actually living their dreams and falling short, is when the playoffs come, when the hardest, most challenging moments come, they get tired. They're like, this isn't worth it. They don't have enough passion behind their mission, or their mission isn't big enough, that they're not willing to sacrifice their body and their energy. And that's the difference between those that make it to the top and those that don't. It's like they're willing to do whatever it takes when the playoff season comes. And I'm in the playoffs right now, so I'm doing whatever it takes.
I love it. That's huge. And you also have the strong reasons to pull you through. And I think for me, some of the craziest times, some of the records I broke in my previous company, and some of the best impact and income I've ever had was right after sacrifice and going all out. But I always had the prize in mind. I always had the end result. So when you're thinking about getting some sleep or letting up a little bit, are you just focusing on the end result, or the people you're impacting, or your legacy?
I'm focusing on a few things. Right now, it's like I could look at this time and be like, man, I'm exhausted, and it's challenging. But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to look back on this someday and be like, this was like the most beautiful moments where I'm like embracing these moments that are like challenging and like no sleep. I'm like, you know what? This is like what makes it so much fun, is these moments of struggle, of challenge, of adversity, where I get to see what I'm made of. I get to see how all the training I put in, is it paying off right now? Can I still show up and speak in front of 400, 500 people and have the energy and the calm and the presence to connect and be in the zone? Or am I going to make an excuse and say, hey guys, I haven't slept, so you're not going to get the best of me today. I apologize.
Which you hear that from speakers, by the way, sadly.
Yeah. I think I even mentioned like I haven't slept or whatever. Cole mentioned that, and I was like, I haven't slept, but I am fully committed to giving you my best and being present and moving you in a powerful way to get the results that you came here to get. And when people came up to me afterwards in tears, like literally shaking in tears, saying how much it impacted them, I was like, I'm glad that I can still show up. Maybe I didn't do it for everyone, but I did the best I could.
And it's worth it. And those moments are the ones that you draw upon when you are stressed or challenged as well.
Exactly.
So here's what I've been wanting to ask you. You talk about greatness a lot. That's an interesting word. And when you think of the word greatness, there's not a ton of people that come to mind. Because, out of the thousands or hundreds of thousands of athletes, there's only a small amount that you can say that's greatness, right? So what's your definition? And maybe it's changed since you were younger. Maybe when you were an athlete, obviously you still play handball professionally, but what's your definition? What's greatness mean?
Greatness to me right now means discovering and cultivating the unique gifts and talents we were born with to live our dreams to the fullest and make the maximum impact on people around us in the world by living those dreams.
I love it. So what do you see for young entrepreneurs? You impact a lot of people. You speak as I do. What do you think the one or two things that really hold most entrepreneurs, especially millennials, back from greatness? What are the things that you've seen that are the most common?
Fear of looking bad. So for me, I've never been, there's three things: the fear of success, the fear of failure, and the fear of looking not cool or looking bad or not looking perfect. Most people don't take action because they need it to look perfect. They need it to be perfect before they put it out there. And so they spend 6 months to a year designing everything the right way and framing it and molding it so that it's perfect. And then they never launch it because it's never going to be perfect. No. So they're stuck in this prison of perfectionism, and they are unable to put something out there because they're always critiquing themselves by not being perfect enough. So that's something that holds people back. Luckily, greatness is not about being perfect. If it was, I would not be great because I put things out all the time that aren't perfect, but they're really, really good. And then I improve upon them every step of the way to make them the best I can make them in that moment. And I let go of the judgment of myself that it's not good enough, that it's not where it needs to be. And I say, okay, it's where it's at right now. How can I make it better? And be accepting and grateful for where it's at, but also know that I can constantly improve. And so I think that's what holds a lot of young entrepreneurs back is the fear of success, the fear of failure, but through that failure, looking bad or looking a certain way.
I love it. And they're fearing people of what they think of them, which is, I've seen that when I've trained people is always they care more about what others think or they want to please people versus pleasing themselves. And I think that's a crutch, and that kills a lot of people's ambitions and dreams because if other people don't agree with them or they don't feel like they're understood, they let up and they live someone else's dream. Have you seen that as well?
Exactly. Yeah. There's so many young entrepreneurs, this through your coaching, that have been following what their parents want them to do or following what their siblings have done or following what their friends are doing as opposed to actually like looking inside and saying, what is it that I want to do? And I'll tell you what, it's scary doing things differently than all your friends and parents. I've lost so many friends from college along the way because I didn't stick around with them and do the same things that they were doing. Yep. I went and did my own thing, and I'd still try to reach out and be in touch with them, and they'd just stop talking to me. And I was like, why do my friends not want to hang out with me or talk to me anymore? And I realized it's because I was leaving the pack of what they were thinking and what they were doing with their careers. I was leaving the pack to do something else. And then the more recognition I got and the less they were getting, they were like, well, I don't know. They didn't like me or they weren't like happy for me. It was just like, why are they not happy for me? So I think that fear of like losing relationships is a big one because we were born to connect. And when we built relationships and vulnerable with people that we are friends with and family, and when they leave us, or when they start to distance themselves from us because we're not doing what they want us to do, it is freaking scary, man. No one wants to be alone. No one wants to be not accepted. We didn't show up here to be like, okay, I'm going to create something so people don't accept me. Yeah. We all have a people-pleasing person inside of us. We want to please people. We want people to like us. And when we start to get that rejection of people not accepting us, it is scary. That's something that I'm like used to be very afraid of until I start to become more aware that, people aren't going to like me no matter what I do. Like I'll have a lot of people like me. You're never
going to please everybody, ever.
You can't, yeah. So connect with the people who you will please and serve them in a bigger way and always give your best. But, the biggest leaders in the world either have half the world for them or half the world against them. I think of Martin Luther King. It's like he had half the world hating him, like more so than everyone else. And then half the world like supporting him and loving him. The more clear we are in our dreams and our passion and our mission, the more we're going to be separating the people that love us and hate us.
Oh, and there's nothing, and this took years for me, there's nothing more exciting than living life on not only your terms, but authentically, where you don't care what others think because you're so in tune with who you are and you have such integrity and you're living your values that you start not to care because you're being authentic.
Exactly.
That's huge as well. And I've heard stories where, of course, half the people hate LeBron James. Here's a funny one. There was a poll on ESPN. He is the most hated athlete in the world and the most loved.
Yeah, I don't doubt it, man. I love him because he's from Ohio.
But how funny is that, though?
Yeah. It's
hate
crazy.
Him, love him. It's like he's at the top of both poles.
It's usually when you get to the top, you either hate it or love that much, and people resent you for who you are or what you've created or your success. You know, look at Tom Brady. He's probably the most hated and loved in the NFL because people don't like people who win that much, or people don't like whatever.
And they find reasons not to like you.
Yeah, it's stupid. And he seems like the nicest human being. You're like, how can you hate this guy? He's incredible. He like wins every time. How can you hate him?
I agree.
So yeah, man, that's it.
It's interesting. And you know what's funny is, Grant Cardone, we were talking probably months ago, and he's like, he's a little more intense where he just says it how it is. But he said, if you're still hanging out with the people that you hung out with in high school, what are you doing? You're not growing. You're not doing anything right. I'm like, whoa, that's kind of true. Where when you outgrow people, you're representing the strength and courage they sometimes don't have. And that's intimidating for them.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know, maybe one person I talked to from high school still, maybe, a few from college.
It's interesting,
At the same time, it's like, he's married to probably his college sweetheart, and he's still married to her 25 years later. So you could also give the example like, well, you're still married to the same person 20 years ago, so why haven't you outgrown her, type of thing. So
there's so many different...
If they grow with you, then it's all good. But if they're not supporting and growing with you, then you may not want to give as much energy to that relationship as others.
Exactly. So I want to dive into building a business online, then I want to talk about your book, because I'm excited to hear more about it. There's a lot of fluff out there. There's a lot of BS out there about how to really build an online business, how to build an empire, not just an empire, but a legacy that outlasts you, right? Yeah. Not just trading time for money, but building something scalable. What would you say if you were talking to people that wanted to get out of corporate? And I know I get this all the time, so I guarantee you get it, where people come up to you, hey, I'm making blank in corporate or in this job. I want to be an entrepreneur. And I had someone a couple weeks ago at Lewis tell me that they were making $700,000 corporate, and if they could just make 60 to 80 grand online with having freedom, they would be ecstatic. So it's amazing how people...
How much were they making corporate?
700.
Wow.
But they couldn't stand...
They felt trapped.
They couldn't stand other people telling them what they were worth, and also they couldn't stand that the daughter wanted to hang it. A lot of reasons. But what are some steps people can take? Because I realize that they don't have their certainty in entrepreneurship. They have that in the security. What are the steps you give them, whether they're 19 and getting out of college or starting college, or whether they're 52? What are the steps? What are some tangible steps?
Here's a few things that come to mind. One is to find a mentor who's doing what you want to create, who's got the freedom, who's got the flexibility, who's got the scalability already. Find one or multiple mentors. Don't put all your eggs in one person, but find multiple people with different approaches that you can learn from. I always tell people, like, if I could do it all over again and I couldn't convince or enroll someone to mentor me, I would have paid someone $10,000, $20,000 a year to work for them for free as essentially a real life master's program. As opposed to going to school to get a master's degree or whatever in business, I would have found the person that I admired the most and was inspired by the most and said, I want to pay you to work for you and then learn from you through that process. But through this paying, I'm going to want to make sure that you really give me ownership on some of the projects that are most important, that I get close access to you, that I can work on really interesting things, but I want to pay you to be able to have that opportunity. I get so many people, and I'm sure you get the same thing, Peter, that people email me all the time and say, I will move to LA to work for you for free. Like, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll give you 6 months of my life for free. And I'm like, it sounds interesting and exciting, but it's going to be more of my time and energy to train you, for you to then leave in 3 to 6 months, and I'm not going to get results. So I'm just going to do all this work for you, teach you how to do things where you're going to mess up for 6 months, and then you're going to leave. That doesn't work for me. If someone said to me, I'll give you $20,000 to come work for you for a year, I'd be like, this person's serious and they want to really grow and learn, and they're committed to the relationship to me. That's like Cole Hatter said on stage. He's like, I paid Lewis $5,000 check just so that he'd come and meet with me, so I could show him how serious I was to build a relationship with him. This was 3.5, 4 years ago.
Wow.
And he's like, he drove up from San Diego. He wrote me a $5,000 check. He handed it to me and said, I want to build a relationship with you. I don't want anything from you. I just want to be able to call you every once in a while and build a relationship and offer you value. And I was like, here's a guy who's serious and who wants to build relationships. So first thing I would do is find mentors and build those relationships with mentors that's already creating what you want to create, and find a way to work with them, be around them, have them mentor you, have them coach you, give you feedback, give you challenges. That's step one. The next thing I would do is find one thing to become an expert in and to be better than 90% of the people in the world at. One thing that you're excited about. It doesn't have to be the thing you're going to do for the rest of your life, but something to build an expertise around right now to get really great at. For me, early on, that was LinkedIn. So I spent 6 hours a day on LinkedIn for about a year and a half, building relationships, learning how to master the site, using it.
So hold on. You need to say that again because people see your LinkedIn success. A, they think you're lucky. B, they think you had all these big connections and LinkedIn paid you because this and this.
Yeah.
The reality is you just spent 6 hours a day for how long?
Yeah, a year and a half.
There's what people don't see.
Yeah.
They don't see the back end where no one knows who you are and you're online researching and studying for 6 hours a day.
And reaching out to people one-on-one and getting on the phone with them and building those relationships every day. Yeah. It was a year and a half of work while I had these mentors that I was working with at the same time. So I was working for mentors, getting that, I was learning, I was consuming the information, I was making mistakes, and also building expertise in one thing, that was LinkedIn early on. Everyone else was building was talking about social media in general and like spreading
you
that
had a
information.
niche. Yeah.
I was like, Zoom, I am going to be focusing on this. And I used everything else so I understood it, but I only talked about LinkedIn and I wrote articles about it. I gave workshops on it. I did one-on-one sessions.
Well, you were everywhere LinkedIn-wise.
I wrote a book about it. I was like, I went to every social media conference and talked about only LinkedIn. And I did that for 2-3 years.
Go back. Do you remember what tipped it over where it was LinkedIn that was the thing? Did you see it becoming the new Facebook for business people? Did someone say this is the next thing? Was it a gut feeling?
It's kind of like a timing thing because 2007 I got injured. I had to get a surgery. I had a cast on in August of 2007. A couple months later, like November, December, when I was talking to these different mentors that I knew already, I was like, I don't know what to do next. Like, what am I going to do with my life? Like, I'm in this transition.
I've had the same thing, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, my identity's gone. What do I do? And he said, why don't you check out the site called LinkedIn? I think there's probably like 10 or 12 million people on it at the time. He was like, I know a lot of people who are getting on there and finding jobs and business opportunities. Why don't you check it out? So I never heard of it until my mentor was like, check this out. And I'm a great student. Like on the athletic field, I'm really good at taking coaching and feedback and then just taking action. So he was like, go do this. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. So I got on there because of his recommendation and it was the right time. And I put the work in for the next year and a half of researching, but he's the one who told me about it. And I kind of planted the seed to go check it out. Mm-hmm. And then it just started to blow up where everyone was like, you got to get it on LinkedIn. You got to learn it. And no one knew how to do it effectively.
That's timing right there.
And I was like, let me show you. So a lot of it was like timing. And then I think also it was like, if I didn't see the value of it early on, I wouldn't have stuck it out. Mm-hmm. But I saw the value of LinkedIn. I saw that it kept growing. I saw how I was getting value reaching out to people one by one and connecting with these top CEOs from LinkedIn who were getting on the phone with me. So I was like, I was using it for my own personal benefit.
And you saw the value.
Saw the value, and I was like, dude, you got to use LinkedIn if you're trying to find a job or build your business or get leads or connect with these influencers. Like, this is what I'm doing. Check it out. And then people started to pay me for that information. And that's when I started to see that, like, okay, this is a thing when people started reaching out to me and saying, hey, can I hire you to show me how to use this?
That's huge. Did you have a hump with charging people at first, like some entrepreneurs do? Or were you just right away like, shit, I'm worth this?
I did it for free for friends early on because I was talking about it so much and telling them what I was doing. And they were like, dude, can you help me? And I was like, yeah, of course. And then I did it for one guy, and he wrote me $100 check afterwards. He's like, this is unbelievable.
Was that a game changer for you?
I never made any money before. So besides playing football, which wasn't making much as an arena football player, I never made money outside of playing sports. Because I wasn't an entrepreneur before.
Whether it was $1 billion check or a dollar check, that was a pretty big breakthrough. I think entrepreneurs need that breakthrough too.
It was big. I mean, I was a bouncer. I was a truck driver. I worked on a golf course.
You were a truck driver?
Truck driver for 3 months.
I could see you being a bouncer. You're bigger. When I first met you, I was like, oh, what's up, Lewis?
Yeah. But I drove trucks from Columbus, Ohio to Cincinnati and back every single day. It was like a 5.5, 6 hour trip down and back. Taking Napa auto parts to Cincinnati, dropping them off at a warehouse, picking up parts and bringing them back. It was freaking miserable. 5 days a week.
Did you have the entrepreneur nagging pull where it's like, I got to do something else?
Well, I remember doing this driving thing for 3 months, 5 days a week. It was 6 hours a day. I would train in the mornings for football. This was before I got injured. I would train in the mornings for football, and I would come after I got back, and I would train. and I'd be in a truck all day. And I was just like, there's got to be a better life than this. Like, I was making $250 a week after taxes, and I was like, this is a waste of my time.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to make money, but I was like, there's got to be a better way. And luckily, I went to play football after that. And when I got injured, I had this taste of a lifestyle that was like what I'd always dreamed of as a kid, is to be a pro athlete. And then I experienced it, and I was like, this is amazing. I get to perform in front of 20,000 people on the weekends. I practice for 3 hours a day, and then I hang out the rest of the day. And I was like, that's the type of freedom that I want to create after football, but I didn't know how to. But I knew that working a job wasn't that freedom. So I was just like, I'm committed to figuring this out, whatever it takes. I had nothing. I was broke. I was sleeping on my sister's couch, and I had no clue. I didn't even know what entrepreneurship was. And I was like, why would anyone pay me for anything? I don't have a college degree yet. I didn't have any skills. But when I developed that one skill on LinkedIn, I had a niche where I had an extreme expertise, more than probably 99% of the people in the world.
Because you mastered it.
I mastered
time.
I knew more than about LinkedIn than people that worked at LinkedIn on how to use it to like get what you wanted in business. Like maybe I didn't know like the back end or something, but I knew how to like connect with people and leverage it and build it. So that's the second thing, is to building that expertise. And then the third thing I would say for starting out entrepreneurs is to, it's a two-part thing, is to build your personal brand, what you stand for, by building an audience online around that brand. You know, when you have the audience, when you have the email list, the following, the things like that, you can leverage it into different platforms. Mm-hmm. And when I started with LinkedIn, building that audience, then I moved into the webinar business and the online product courses and to other things of entrepreneurship online. Like I've been able to reinvent myself because I had an audience. And I start to seamlessly add different elements of my brand and content through the audience to serve them over the last 6 years, 7 years since I really got started with this. And that audience is crucial and key to building. And the best way to build the audience is to generate some type of consistent quality content over the years that's free to attract and bring more people in. And I've created a lot of content over the years. And when I transitioned from selling my business, I created all these social media courses early on, because originally it was LinkedIn. Then people said, hey, can you show me how to use Facebook and Twitter and YouTube? So we just created more and more courses for people that were asking. I realized like that's not what I want to do for the rest of my life right now. I'm kind of like done doing this. Yeah. So I sold that company. And then I was like, what do I really want to create right now? Like, what's my message? What do I believe in? And the School of Greatness came from that. And the key to the success has been doing high quality of content every week consistently for the last 3 years and putting it out at such a high level and then promoting it consistently. Because a lot of people will create content and then just like expect new people to show up.
They don't have any influence. They have content but no influence.
But you got to constantly find ways to get it in front of new people. You know, my friend Derek Halpern from socialtriggers.com, he says he writes like 2.3 blog posts a month or something like that, like his average. And then he promote all day, every day long. He's promoting to those 1 to 2 articles a month to new audience. He's emailing people one by one. He's finding ways to get it in front of people, leaving comments on sites, telling people about those articles, as opposed to writing new content every day and only having the same people look at it. He's creating smaller pieces of content and promoting it to the world. So I think that answered your thing in 3 steps.
Yeah, that's huge, because you hit steps that people forget about. It's all about creating raving fans. You said audience, influence, and when you have that, there's so many different opportunities when you have the influence that you can branch off and do other things. But I think a lot of people, they want instant results. Yes. And what I realized, if they don't know you or they've known you for a year or two, people see you at different stages. If they see your website now and what you're doing, they instantly go, I can't do that. His website's perfect.
Yeah, they should have seen my website 6 years ago. It was horrible,
people don't realize that, though. So
it's embarrassing.
You have iterations every year, 2 years. You're an innovator as well, where you're going to invest your past experience and what went well and what didn't into the next level of website. So I think people have to understand you weren't always at that place where you had everything shrunk tight and perfect.
Yeah, and if I was starting out again, another insight I would tell people is like branding and design is way more valuable than you think when you're just starting out.
Well, there's the older people that say, no, it's just about marketing and about closing. It's like, no, that was 10 years ago.
Yeah, and I think
aesthetics matter.
In my mind, aesthetics matter in attracting more fans that really believe in you and love you and want to follow you, because we want, specifically on social media where there's images and videos are the things that are being shared the most right now and the things that get looked at the most. If those images look like crap, no one's going to follow you. Mm-hmm. Especially
even if it's
Instagram.
Okay content.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, or if they follow you, they're going to have the perceived value that you bring to them. They're going to look at you as like, okay, he's going to have a great message, but it doesn't look that good. Yeah. And they're always going to have that back in their mind. Well, we're in a visual world. We want to look at pleasing, aesthetically pleasing things that are designed well. And that doesn't mean it has to be this like incredible design. It can still be simple, but it's got to look a specific way that is pleasing to the eye.
I love it. And congruent to your brand as well.
Exactly.
So I want to dive into your book, and then we'll tell them where to get it, because I'm a big fan and I want people to get it. It's awesome. Look at the cover. I love it. So it's really based on the podcast as well. So tell us, let's simplify. What's the book about, and what makes it different than other books? Because I know you like to differentiate yourself and be a leading authority versus be like everyone else.
Yeah,
What's different about it?
Sally Hogshead, who's got a book called Fascinate, she says that the different is better than better. So don't try to create something better. Try to create something that's
different and unique.
That's better by being different.
That's huge.
So this book, is stemmed from all my life experiences from, achieving success at a world-class level in 3 different sports: football, All-American, and pro athlete in football, decathlete, All-American, and then handball, professional athlete, and USA team member. Translating into building multiple 7-figure businesses, to philanthropy, to building relationships, to intimate things, to mastering your health. Everything I've done.
Building houses for Adam, right?
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. It's from all my experiences, but then from the last 3 years, I've interviewed some of the most inspiring people in the world from all walks of life, every type of industry, and I started to see these common themes that I was applying to my sports world, to the business world, that I did really well, and then other themes that I was like, oh, that's why I wasn't accelerating as much as I could have in these stages of my life, because I wasn't applying those principles. So I learned what these 8 common principles of greatness were through all these interviews, and I was seeing these common themes come through. So the book is the 8 principles of greatness. The thing is, there are a lot of books that inspire you and give you these lessons, and The Secret inspires you and tells you like these theories and things like that. But the challenge is they don't give you the practical exercises. They don't give you the actual things that these inspiring individuals apply in their daily life to create those results. And I have put together these exercises at the end of each chapter that I have been applying since the sports world, that I transferred over to the business world and continue to apply, that so many people in the world don't know about, these exercises, these practices. And I've taken those, added them to the book, taken the other practices I've learned from these individuals that I've interviewed, and put together what I believe is the perfect system to being great. And greatness and perfection is not the same thing, because you can't be perfect if you want to be great. But this is the perfect solution to being great.
So someone can pick it up and they're not sure what they want to do, or it's not just for entrepreneurship, athletes in any other industry. They can read it, and what I love about it too is there's actionable steps, and I've read a lot of books as you have, and I'm not joking, Louis. Almost every book is just, yes, there's theory, it shifts your perspective, but it's not like, here's exactly what to do.
Yes. They might have research, they might have, exactly.
Research, millennials, they don't care as much about research. They do actionable content or execution and what to do next. So you feel like you put that in there in the right way where they can take it and use it?
So exactly. For me, I wanted to create a journey for people. One of the most inspiring books for me is The Alchemist. And
one of my favorites.
The reason why, it's because he takes us on a journey. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the journey, we discover our greatest treasure. And I wanted to create the real world guide, the practical guide of The Alchemist, on how to discover what your treasure is, and then how to take the steps to achieve it. Again, the story is incredible in The Alchemist, but is there actionable steps on how to discover your inner treasure? That's what I wanted to create for people, is how to live their biggest, most fullest lives and fulfill their lives at the highest level in sports, in business, in health, in relationships, and how to make the biggest impact along the way.
I love it. Well, you're doing it, man, and you're inspiring a lot of people. And I love the action focus, because that's, I think, what a lot of books are missing, is that action step. So I have a couple of my Academy members that want to ask a couple questions, which I'm curious about as well. So Mark wants to know, for you, what does it mean to live a true legacy? For Lewis Howes, what's it look like to have a true legacy in business and life, as a dad, son, whatever?
I have a mission to serve 100 million people, to show them how to make a full-time living doing what they love. I believe that's what's going to heal the world. When we are filling ourselves up by following our dreams, following the things we love, and we make a full-time income around that, that doesn't have to be millions of dollars, but making a full-time income, doing the things that fill us up every single day. If we can create that, we're going to feel so much more fulfilled and feel like we're creating meaning in our lives. So I want to teach people how to do that through all the work I do. So for me, that's one, is fulfilling that vision and living that vision every day. The second thing what was the question about? How does he...
What do you define as your true legacy?
True legacy, yeah. The second part of living my true legacy is knowing that in every moment I'm doing my best to leave people better off than when I found them or when I came to them. And having them feel different after they receive my content, listen to me, watch a video, read the books, come to an event, they hug me. I want them to feel like anything is possible. And I want them to go away and say, whether they see me once or they just listen to me once or listen to me for years, I want them to say, I feel like a better human being because I received that content or information, and I feel like it's really impacted my life. So I want people to say, Lewis has impacted my life in a positive way, and he's helped me get to the next step and where I want to go.
I love it. That's awesome. And we need more people like that. I think the need, Lewis, for leadership and for entrepreneurship at the highest level is so needed. It's going up minute by minute now, because there's too many followers, too many people settling and doing things on other people's terms, that we need that at a high level. And I'm trying to do the same thing. Yeah. Derek wants to know, interesting question, but and he's someone that's been really crushing it in his space and doing well with what he's doing, increasing his income and influence. But he says, if you could put together a mastermind with just a few people, which you might have already done this, by the way, who are the people right now that are inspiring you the most that you would put a mastermind together?
That's a great question. I have a lot of masterminds I'm in, and I feel very blessed and grateful to have built relationships with some incredible human beings in the world. But if I could put together the ultimate mastermind, I would say The Rock would be in my mastermind. Tony Robbins would be in my mastermind. Scooter Braun, who's like, kind of in my mastermind already. He, he's a part of my friend. We're friends, and I get to connect with him a lot. I would say
that's Justin Bieber's manager, right?
Exactly, and Adam Braun's brother. I would say Adam Braun as well, because that guy is living in a whole nother level of service. I would say President Obama would be in my mastermind, and Jay-Z.
That would be an interesting and very fired up, legendary mastermind.
I think I'd put LeBron James in there too.
Oh, that's funny, man.
That's what I would be. That would be my mastermind.
I love it. So another last question for just these people that wanted to ask. What's your next, and I'm curious, what's your next project after the School of Greatness book launch? Maybe your head's down, you don't know, you're focused on this, but I know you're a forward thinker, so I know you have some kind of idea. What's next?
I'm so focused on making this the best that I can, because if we lose track of our vision, of our focus to chase the next shiny ball, then we're never going to create something great. So I'm focused on this right now, but I do have some things for the next year that I want to create. I want to do a documentary, and I want to create the most incredible experience for an event next year to bring my community together, calling it the Summit of Greatness. I want to bring the most inspiring people in the world to create this experience with me and take people through a journey. Again, I'm all about journeys. I want to take people through a 3-day journey like the Alchemist in real life or the School of Greatness book in real life. So I've got that in my mind.
I love it. So I knew you had some things afterwards.
Of course.
I knew you did. So real quick, they can get the Greatness book at greatnessbook.com, right?
Yes.
Make it simple as possible.
Greatnessbook.com. We can go to Amazon. And it's also, 8 years ago, I had a dream. I'm going to share with you my dream really quick.
Do it.
8 years ago, when I was injured, I was in a full arm cast from my shoulder to my fingertips. And it was Christmas, almost 8 years ago, 2 months, 8 years ago. Do you celebrate Christmas by any chance?
Yeah.
So we celebrated Secret Santa this year, which means, you get one gift from a family member and you don't know who it's coming from. And my brother handed me a gift. And he didn't even wrap it. He just handed it to me and said, Merry Christmas. And it was a book. So he handed me this book. And as a guy who's dyslexic and doesn't really read that fast, I was like, why is my brother? This is like the worst gift you can give a guy who's like depressed and
or doesn't read.
Exactly. But something on the front of the cover intrigued me right away. And the book was called The 4-Hour Work Week. How to Live the New Rich, something, right? Work from anywhere and work 4 hours a week or something by Tim Ferriss, which I'm sure you've probably read, right?
Yep. A couple times.
And I started reading this book, and in 3 days I finished it. I completed it. And after I was done reading it, I said to myself, wow, one day I'm going to become really great friends with Tim Ferriss. I don't know how I'm going to do this, but it's going to happen because this guy has inspired the crap out of me, and I want him part of my mastermind, essentially.
He's brilliant. Ferriss is.
The second thing I'm going to do, whoever his agent is who put this book together is unbelievable because at this point he was a #1 New York Times bestseller. He was like a celebrity, and I had never heard of him before this point, but then I saw his blog and I was like blown away. I was like, whoever his agent is, it's going to be my agent. And one day, that agent and myself are going to write a book together that inspires possibility in the minds of millions of people around the world, the way this book just inspired it and was the catalyst for me. And that book was really a guide for me and a catalyst to open me up to entrepreneurship and building a life that I wanted around making money around the things I love. And that's what's guided me to taking all the action I've done over the last 8 years. And so this is coming full circle. This is a dream of mine, an 8-year vision and dream of mine, where I became the man I needed to become for this to come out. And I also remember saying to myself, one day this is going to be in every Barnes & Noble in the country, and you're going to see it front and center of these stores. And I got word recently that it's going to be in every Barnes & Noble in the country, and it's also going to be in the first stand right when you walk in, front and center of every Barnes & Noble in the country. So for me, my dream is about to come true, and I'm so pumped. So you guys can get it at greatnessbook.com. You can go to amazon.com, or you can go right into Barnes & Noble and pick it up.
Post your pictures with it as well. Tag him
online. Yes, please.
And I'll tell you, man, that's inspiring. It's easy to see why you're hustling hard with your nose to the ground, not getting much sleep. Because, I mean, if you have a vision and it becomes reality, there's nothing else more inspiring, I don't think, than setting a goal 8 years ago and seeing it reality. Yeah. I don't know how you could sleep, to be honest.
It's exciting, man. It's exciting.
You know what I mean?
I'm doing my best every single day. I'm giving my best, and that's all we can ever ask for.
I love it. So real quick, Lewis on Instagram, Lewis Howes. You're easy, man. It's your name at everything. Periscope,
everything.
Lewis Howes.
That's it.
I'm going to Periscope in a second after we get off live. Introduce you to my followers. So
awesome.
So Twitter, Lewis Howes. Facebook, Lewis Howes. You're everywhere, aren't you?
That's it. LewisHowes.com. School of Greatness on iTunes, everywhere.
I love it. Well, I remember a year ago we emailed, man, and we talked about each other's big goals for 2015. I don't know if you remember that. We were emailing.
I remember vaguely, but what did you say your big goal was?
Well, I remember your big goal, and it inspired me about your books coming out in October. This was, I think, in December, and I had a book coming out in, I think, a month later, and it's doing great, but I was like, man, you made me think bigger, which is pretty exciting. So, and yeah. I would hate to leave this call without asking you this because I've been wondering. Simple question, but you get so much done, Lewis. At a young age, you've created all these programs. You have your book coming out. You have all these things you're doing. What's been the biggest perspective flip for you these last couple years that's made the biggest impact on your influence and your income? Just the perspective flip or maybe a game-changing thought.
This is easy answer.
I want to hear it.
my level of awareness and understanding about emotional intelligence. You know, in my mind, the key to success in life is relationships. We can't create anything great on our own. We can't grow up on our own. We're born and we need support. We need others around us to teach us, to grow, to learn, to build things. We can't build a building on our own. You know, we need people to create greatness in our lives. So the key to success in life is relationships. The key to successful relationships is vulnerability and emotional intelligence. Understanding the needs, the wants, the dreams, the struggles of other people, understanding their emotions, their feelings, what their heart says, and also understanding our own emotions, our own fears, our own triggers, the things that hold us back. And when we are aware of the emotional intelligence, when I became more aware of my emotional intelligence and the awareness of other people's emotions around me, that's when, for me, the influence quadrupled, because I was able to understand people where they are at, as opposed to wanting them to understand me where I'm currently at. So if I could give any piece of advice to any young entrepreneur or anyone, is to really do the development on your emotions and understanding why they show up when they show up, and learn to connect with other people where they're at and not expect them to understand you.
That's huge. That's a game changer, man. And I've had similar breakthroughs, and I really appreciate you sharing, man. And I really do want to appreciate for all the things that you've done, the legacy you're creating. You're a worldwide phenomenon now. I know you know that, but it's always,
Thanks,
it's good to see someone young, someone aware, and someone so dedicated to helping others. It's inspiring, and I think a lot of young people see you and want to do the same thing, and it's making our world a better place, man. So I'm excited to see what's next for you. I'm excited to help promote the book, and excited to connect with you in LA as well. I know you have a launch party coming up.
Thank you.
And real quick, the book launches very soon.
October 27th.
So this will be live. What's the date? We're gonna turn this around quick and get this out the next couple of days. So you guys still have time to pre-order Amazon. But I'll tell you, I don't endorse a ton of books because a lot of books are fluff and theory. I endorse this book highly. I've met Lewis. He's the real deal. He genuinely cares about the well-being of not only entrepreneurs but our society. So I'm excited, man, to continue building the relationship. Much respect to you, my man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you for having me on and sharing this information.
Definitely. We'll talk soon.